Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. Today we're going to do a brief review on the new Makeup Forever HD Skin Foundation. And I do have a huge foundation roundup coming up very soon, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe to my channel if you want to check that out. I'll be going through all of my foundations as well as, what they look like on the skin. So this foundation is my newest one. And this I purchased in shade 1N06. So Makeup Forever has changed their number system, but you can see on the box, it does tell you the old number. So in the Reboot foundation, I had shade Y218, and that was a perfect match for me. I don't have that now. I actually had only gotten a sample of that because I didn't really care for the fragrance, but this is the foundation. This is one full pump, and you can see that it is going to be a thin to medium consistency liquid. It's not going to be super runny, but this particular shade here, the 1N06, formerly Y218, is just a little bit deeper and warmer than the Reboot for me. So if you are trying to blind buy, you might want to just stop in the store and double check. There is a lighter shade, an alabaster shade. This one is Porcelain. That would probably be better for me. It looks very light online, but I have not seen it in person. So this is what it looks like now, but I'll show you the swatch in a little bit. You can see it does oxidize a pretty good deal. So as we talk about product details, I'm going to be showing you an application of this foundation as well as So as we talk about details for this foundation, I'm going to show you application and wear test of this. Now, my last wear test cuts off at 9.5 hours, but I have worn this for several days now and almost a week. And I have worn this for about 15 hours on a couple of the days, and it looks the same as it does at this final update here for the most part. Now, this particular foundation is made in France. It has a 1-year shelf life upon opening, and it claims to be high resistance on skin, 24-hour, long-lasting, waterproof, sweat-proof, and mask friendly. I would have to say that that is fairly accurate, but I just want to be clear that mask friendly does not mean mask proof. When I wear this foundation with a mask, I do have some fading or rubbing off of the foundation in places where it comes in contact with my mask. It still looks pretty good overall, but when I was talking about the wear test, that's kind of what I was referring to. On days when I had to wear a mask like all day while wearing this foundation, I definitely noticed a lot more wear and tear of the foundation in the area where they came in contact with the mask. So just something to note, it's mask friendly, it's not mask proof. I have not gotten sweaty with this particular foundation on, but I had no problems with it holding up in the rain or sticking around on the skin very well. So it really looks beautiful all day. And there are many shades. I believe there are 34 shades of this foundation. So, hopefully you're able to find one that works well for you. This foundation is intended for normal combination oily skin. And I would definitely say that my skin is normal to slightly dry. I would say that's kind of the cutoff. If you have any drier skin than I do, I would say this foundation is not going to be for you. But I definitely think people who lean a little bit oilier, or perhaps during the summertime, for me, I get a little bit oilier during the summer, partly due to humidity in the area and so forth. If that's a situation for you, then I think this foundation will perform very well for you in that situation. So overall, I think it's a really beautiful foundation on the skin. I don't think it's going to be for everyone, but I think the finish on it is gorgeous. And this particular foundation does claim to be blurring, like it does, like if you had used a blurring primer. I've used this with and without primer. I have to say, I feel like it lasts and performs better with a primer underneath. My favorites are the Surratt Perfectionist Primer and the Dior Forever Skin Veil Primer. But with this particular foundation, with me being normal to slightly dry and this foundation being better for slightly oilier skins, the Dior Forever Skin Veil Primer is a better option for this. Now, because my shade is a little bit darker than I would prefer, I have also tried mixing this with the Chanel Rosy Light Drops, which is a very soft pink illuminating liquid. So you can use this with any illuminator, and that's what I have on right now. So I'm just going to show you a little application clip of that. But I would have to say that this, is a really nice way to kind of dilute it a little bit, but it does not correct the color quite enough. So just something to know, it will dilute it a little bit, but even with mixing those two, it's still just going to be a little bit deeper than I would like. However, during the summertime, perhaps this will be totally fine. All right, so here is the swatch. It is mostly dried, so let's just go ahead and check out a little bit more of a fresh application of it. And you can see the difference from where it dries. Now, Makeup Forever does claim that there's no oxidation throughout the day. That is true. Once it's this color, it stays that color, but you can see that there's definitely oxidation upon drying. So I think it's actually a good percentage of oxidation. It seems like a little bit higher than I expected personally. Overall, final thoughts on this foundation. I think it's a really nice foundation, and I think it's going to perform really well for people with oilier skin tones or those who live in a more humid climate and are bombarded with a higher humidity percentage throughout the day. Now, for this foundation, if you're very oily, you may want to consider powdering it. But personally, for my skin, powdering was unnecessary with this foundation, and it dries to a finish that feels a little bit more matte on the skin. So actually, if you put it on, you give it a couple of minutes, it's going to feel more matte as though you already have a light layer of powder on there. So, if you were to go in with powder products and like a soft squirrel hair brush or something, you wouldn't have to worry about any like tackiness from the product. So it actually gives you a very nice, smooth finish to it. And you can see that although it is a more matte looking foundation, there's a luminosity to it. It's more of a satin matte type of finish. And yeah, I mean, you can see here that where it has dried, it's definitely matte, but there is a little bit of luminosity that is shining through that product. So overall, I think it's a really nice foundation, and I think people who have slightly oilier skin are going to really like the way this one performs. And it really does not settle into like fine lines or creases, it stays put. So I think that's really great. There is a fragrance in here. As I mentioned before, I had the Reboot foundation, a sample of it, but the fragrance was overpowering to me. This is definitely fragranced, but it is not, I don't recall if it's the same fragrance as Reboot or not, so I cannot comment on that, but it is not as strong as what I recall. This one doesn't bother me. Part of it, is also going to be the time of the year. During the summer when things are warmer, you're going to smell the fragrance more strongly than you would during the cooler months. And, it's still cooler here. So that's definitely something to note, but I would say it's not that strongly fragranced compared to some of the other ones that I've tried from this brand. So overall, great foundation, and check it out if it meets your skin needs. All right, so before we go, we're just going to compare just a few shades. We'll have more shade comparisons in the foundation review that is coming up. That's going to be my summation of all of my foundations. This is the SUQQU The Cream foundation in shade 110, sorry. And this one is just a little bit too yellow on me as well, but you can see the difference in tone and how much deeper this is. However, this one here is the Chanel Sublimage in BR12, which you can see here, it's going to be rosier and cooler in tone than the Makeup Forever. This one will oxidize to be a bit darker as well, but it's not going to be quite as dark as the Makeup Forever. One of my best foundation matches is actually from Givenchy shade 1-N95. Oops. Thought I was squirting kind of in the wrong spot, but you can see the difference here. So as I mentioned, we will be doing swatch comparisons of everything in the foundation summation video. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when that's coming out. We're going to be doing that very soon, but we have a whole bunch of other new foundations coming. And we'll be doing an update video on that as well shortly thereafter, after I've had time to really test things and figure out my favorites. So these are just a few comparisons so you can kind of get a general idea of how deep this shade actually is. I hope this video was helpful. Please let me know what you think of this foundation, and I will see you very soon. So have a great day and stay safe and healthy.